If you have a winner on Unibet Champion Hurdle Day, it's a help to settle the nerves. If you have a fancied one, especially in the Champion Hurdle itself, it's the first big one of the week. Obviously, a brilliant race to win for every reason, because it is a great race, but also being the first day of the week to take a major scalp sets you up then for the week. You would be thinking about this race since, you'd be all year thinking about it. Little things you'd be reflecting on previous years. Cheltenham is such a difficult track, and the Champion Hurdle is a very, very tricky track as well. So you're always maybe working on things or thinking about things that might have went right and might have went wrong for you in previous years, but also that might have went right or wrong for others. So you're constantly weighing up and reassessing and thinking, where could you exploit others and where you could make the most of your own horse's ability. Cheltenham is a real balancing act. Everything has a consequence. Wherever the pace is up or pace is down, there's a consequence for that. So it's high-speed chess.
They're off. The Unibet Champion Hurdle of 2020.
There is that fine line to get your position, but maybe not set your horse alight too much. You need your horse to be relaxed. So if they run with the choke out, they're not going to finish. They're not going to have the kick that you want in the straight. So it's so important. You want to get a good position at the start, but you don't want to commit your horse out the gate and have him, running with his tail between his legs for the first half of the race and then pay the price for that later on. If you're in the high teens or into the 20s with runners, it's very competitive. And even the no-hopers, they want to get into a good position and give their horse every chance of running well.
Epatante, the hoops with a white cap for Barry Geraghty in midfield as they draw towards this second flight.
I suppose the ideal position is to jump out just behind the pace and be able to decide then if you want to go forward, if they're going a bit steady, or you can steady back a little bit if they're going hard and wait to creep back into position down the back straight, maybe when the pace drops. So it's constant chopping and changing and reassessing and where you want to be and where you should be. And it's that way the whole way through the race. Geraghty was very keen. He needed to be relaxed. I was lucky enough to be able to park him behind Hurricane Fly, and that helped him.
And Bouverdere is within a length and a half of Foheen in third place.
Bouverdere was very straightforward when he won it. Epatante was a bit like Geraghty, that she needed just a little bit of placing, a little bit of settling early. Punjabi, on the other hand, was flat to the boards for most of the race, if not all of the race. So I was going as hard as I could go in our comfort zone at all stages. So they were probably all a little bit different, but they've worked out to have come from a similar kind of position.
Epatante has made steady progress under Barry Geraghty. Has just about now moved into third.
Top of the hill, on the heels of the leaders. That's where they start sorting the wheat from the chaff, and the average ones are falling away, and the real contenders are coming to the fore. If you're traveling well, or if you're on a horse who has a chance of winning, you're going to find yourself there anyway. I'd say I found myself towards the inside most of the time, but it's where in an ideal world where you want to be. But if you're traveling well and you're on the likely winner, you'll find yourself getting into position a lot easier than the horse that isn't traveling well. So it's probably a good indication that you're going well if you can get to that spot on the inside just behind the pace, then to attack in the straight, whether that's before the last or after the last.
As they race towards the second from home, Geraghty on the inside.
Geraghty, we were in front from the second last when I got a split through inside Captain CB, whereas Epatante, I played her over the last, and Bouverdere, I played him with 100 yards to go.
Epatante is in front, and she's not for catching, driven out by Barry Geraghty.
I eventually got a comfortable win in the Champion Hurdle in the end with Epatante. She won really well, and it was the easiest one, but the rest were all heads and necks. They were hard fought finishes, but timing was the big thing, and Bouverdere especially, albeit he was 4-6 favourite. He was like Punjabi. He was flat to the boards through the race, and I was hanging on, put myself and Paula Townend on Mellon. We're nursing both our horses from the turn into the last, and we weren't committing, landed at the back of the last, and Paul went for his fella, and I stayed nursing Bouverdere and stayed until about 100 yards, and then I threw the kitchen sink at him, and he just found enough to win. So timing plays a massive part, especially when you're facing the hill, because you need to just conserve that little bit just to get you home.
Two great hurdlers racing to the line, and Bouverdere just retains his title.
I'd lucky enough to have won the Gold Cup and the Champion Chase and the Stairs Hurdle in my early mid-20s, so I was kind of feeling maybe the Champion Hurdle is one I'll never win. But Punjabi got it, and it was my first year on the job with Nicky, and that was a massive massive highlight in your first season to win a Champion Hurdle. So it was that was brilliant. And the day alone stood out. I suppose then maybe Jesky's champion hurdle, we're having such a great connection with Jesse Harrington, JP and Johnny Harrington, and Johnny wasn't well at the time and passed away soon after, so that was an emotional victory. Bouvier was 4-6 and he was hard fought, but it was a brilliant win. And Epitaph then was probably maybe the sweetest of them all, because it was my final Cheltenham, and I knew just to win, it was brilliant just to, you know, to be there and win one of the big ones in my last year. That meant so much, and I celebrated it more than I had maybe any of the other champion hurdles.